Thank you very much, Eliana and Deb, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with you here. Yes, it's 1 a.m. In Australia at the moment, at least in Canberra. I am at the Australian National University at the moment, so you can see here in the background. I came for this talk, but no problems that I live nearby. So yeah, today I'll be talking about scaling success with integrity, innovative assessments for large classrooms. So it's basically an experience that I had like since I joined the Australian National University, where I found myself like in these large classrooms, like with more than two, three, 400 students, and that has been quite a good experience. Before I get to my talk, I would like just to talk a little bit about myself, and so you understand my background and how I came up with these assessments that I will talk later. So I'm a computer engineer. I had a company in the past where we developed lots of systems, which is kind of related to there is someone there. That happens in large classrooms as well because we don't mute our mics. So um, it's related to what I've been teaching, which is like software construction. I had like some specialization in education and did my master and PhD in databases. Today, I am a senior lecturer at the College of Engineering, Computing and Cybernetics at the Australian National University. I was for 2 years the subdean of academic integrity, and I will be talking about academic integrity as well in this talk. Now I'm the subdean of education programs, so looking after the programs, courses, accreditation, and other things that we have here. Some of the approaches that I will talk today, it was recognized by the university, where I got like last year the award for teaching excellence, as you can see on the right here. I've been working on computer science and education for quite some time, and have visited a few research centers where I could learn a lot from them about education and computer science. So in this talk, I will basically talk a little bit about my course, so like how I have developed this course and my journey in creating assignments that would be useful for this number of students. A little bit about academic integrity, then I go for the two main assessments that we have and some takeaways. So just for contextualization, the software construction course has around like 170 to 400 students per semester. We run both semesters, and the first one usually is the larger one where we have like around 400, could be a little bit less, a little bit more. Second semester is way smaller, right? I don't even feel because it's like 200 students, usually 220, 30. So it's like way easier than 400. Everything scales. And it's harder to manage as well. But the good side of it is that we have a very diverse classroom, so culturally and ethnically, and the academic background and the level of preparedness is also very diverse. So that could be seen as a challenge, but also as something very positive because we can share our experiences, learn from each other, and grow together. For this kind of environment, I have like 10 to 15 teaching assistants, which work so I have like created a structure for my TAs that help me a lot in conducting these large classrooms. So basically we have like a head of the tutors, then we had like the head of the labs or tutorials, and people that are responsible for some of the activities that we have there. So this helps me because, of course, I am not like directly talking or answering everything in the course because, well, I'm only one. And so they kind of filter the questions or the whatever need my attention. So we created this structure that helps a lot. So we have different levels of TAs, and they help me. Also, we have a Slack app, like this app that we can talk about the course. So if anything happens during the course, we will be discussing over Slack and address things quite quickly. And this is actually very important because anything that happens in the course could become easily very, very big, and that could be a disaster for the course. So addressing problems in the beginning is quite important. So that's why we have this communication channel with tutors, and then I can interfere if anything, anything is happening that is not supposed to happen, right? So most of the things I do as a convener and lecturer of the course is crisis management. So it's not even teaching. I have to, like, if anything happens, we need to work to understand what address that, like, the as fast as we can, so the course can continue running smoothly. It is a second year course. It's a compulsory course, and that's a very important information because basically not every student want to be there, right? So they have to be there because it is part of the program. So because it's a compulsory course, and I try to make it as fun as possible, as interesting as possible, so that they can have like a very good experience in the course. But and at the same time, it is a very challenging course. So students usually refer to the course as it is a challenging course, but they do also acknowledge that there are lots of interesting things that they learn in the course. So the idea is that they have to develop a medium-sized software by the end of the course, and they have to master several concepts in computer science. So it's like we address very, very different topics. So in some ways, it can be difficult for students to follow. But again, we try to make it as meaningful as possible for them. Lectures are in person, but we record. So lectures are in person and live. So if they want to join via Zoom, they could. Otherwise, they can come to the lecture. Tutorials are only in person. As you can see here on the left, I try to gamify a little bit the course. Everything is not gamified, but like there are some elements of gamification so that students can engage in a more playful way with the course. So here's the lectures that we have, like the different topics, and we make this just a little bit more meaningful. So in terms of the learning path, this is what I showed them. I will not go through all of these things because you are not one of the students here, but just to say the course is not like a straight road. There are some difficulties, and I explained that in the first lecture to them. So kind of we set the expectations in the beginning and explain all the rules, which I think is very, very important with large classrooms, because otherwise you're gonna have lots of issues and at the end of the course, they don't understand why they get this or that, why they need we need lots of preparation, and again, as I said, set the expectations from the beginning. So as you can see, there are lots of activities, all these lectures. We have tutorials all the way, and we also have some checkpoints, which we will check how they are progressing with some of the assignments that they have. So if they need some help, we know early enough that we can interfere and help them to succeed. So here's just a little bit of the structure of these assignments. Well, when I say lab assignments, I guess most of the people would say tutorials. But anyway, this is just an assignment where a coding assignment, and there is something interesting about this assignment. The weight is like only 9%. We have like 9 lab assignments. I will explain a little bit later. Then we have like some video assignments, which I will also explain later. Group project, a mid-semester test, and the final exam. We have been trying to reduce the weight of the final exam because it adds lots of pressure in the students, and also if they see it there's like the only opportunity to pass the course, it might also create anxiety, but also like be more they might be more likely to well, I don't want to say cheat, but use other resources that are not allowed, right? Let's say this way. So as I was saying about the tutorials, the lab assignments that we have, here, what is interesting about this assignment is that, well, usually we would mark each of these assignments, but we had most of students getting full marks in these lab assignments, and there were also a high rate of collusion, right? As well, they wanted to get these marks, right? So they were working together or trying to find someone who knew how to do it and plagiarize or something like that. So basically, in the last semesters, I transformed that into a attempt-based lab. So if you attempt, then you get the mark. Of course, I reduced the mark before they would receive more marks for these assignments, but the idea here is to have like a formative assessment, and is more like a diagnostic assessment where I know like if they are okay doing these assessment and well progressing well. So for this assessment, then we give them a coding task. They have to basically, they don't have to pass all the tests. So we provide some test cases that they are assessed against them, but we don't mark the number of test cases they passes, but we mark that they had an attempt, so they tried. So for this, they have to do they have to fill out an integrity file where they say like how they worked on the project on this lab, if they had like someone work with them, if they use ChatGPT or any other generative AI tool. Anyway, if they submit before the deadline, then they get the mark, and that of course decrease. I mean, there is no misconduct anymore, right? Like because they are allowed actually to collaborate with their colleagues, they are allowed to use generative AI, and as long as they explain how that contributed to the solution, and also they can get things wrong so that later we can address these issues. So before we were kind of blind because they would get full marks and we would never understand how they didn't perform well in the exams. Now at least we have a better picture of what is happening, right? So these are kind of free marks for them, but for us actually that's like very, very helpful because we understand how they are progressing. So the other initiative that we have in the course is to give them these tokens, right? Like I will move here so you can see we have like 3 tokens: gold, silver, and bronze. What happens in the first lecture is that we give them a golden token, and everybody's happy, right? So this golden token is basically that they can redeem by the end of the course. They can redeem this token for 2 marks for the course, right? So at the end, they get 2 marks if they keep it. The thing here is that we can take this token away. But so the thing is they have to follow some rules, and the rules are basic, very easy. They have to do all the assignments, right? So we would expect them that everyone would keep this token by the end. So the idea here is that the pedagogical goal here is that with that they would engage more, or they would feel that, well, if I don't do something, I will lose that token that will give me a benefit later. And we believe that, well, if they are engaged since the beginning, at some point it's more natural. They will keep engaged because then they are enjoying the course, right? They are learning. Students will lose their motivation when, well, they cannot actually follow the pace of the course. So here it's like, well, keep doing it. If you have problems, then talk to tutors, talk to the lecturers, and so on. So basically reinforce this positive behavior and academic achievements, and some consistency, and recognize them for that. So as I said, there are some rules. Here is just like a hint for you. If you want to ask me something later, you can say like, how difficult is to keep our golden token until the end of the course, right? So it's a good question to ask, just a hint. The silver and Ambrosian token, so it's a bit different. So they get that in the course by participating some of the activities. And then we have the Kahoot one, so it's a quiz, and the escape room, as I will talk later. They also have the wiki, that's the bronze token, and then they get some marks in some of these different assignments. So for the online quizzes, what we have is, so my experience with quizzes was that when I took over this course, there was quizzes every week. They were online, and everybody would get like full marks, right? They could do at home at any time, and they would get full marks. And that was like very impressive again, because like, wow, I got here, and then I was creating these questions for the quizzes, and I thought it was very hard, and then it was not hard for the students. And then I just thought like, wow, these students are really well prepared. But it was not exactly like that. Well, they had lots of time. They were working in groups, and also, well, some of them would just use other resources on the web as well. So at some point, I changed that to do like quizzes during my lecture, and that was a game change in the way I was doing this quiz, right? Like, it was really surprising that the average correct answer was now approximately 45%. So the same questions that I had every week, they became like less than 50%, like less than 50% of the questions would be correct. So although it was a very excellent tool, like, for students to engage with the learning material and to get this immediate feedback, I couldn't use as I was trying to use before, because I want again to use as diagnostic assessment, and see how they were progressing. So previously it was not actually useful for that. We were failing on that, right? So, and then when we changed that to do and use, in this case we are using Kahoot, but you can use any other tool, that became way better, right? So the point here is that with this kind of assessment, and when I did like in the lecture, I could use this time to give them like good, high quality feedback. So I would see, sometimes we don't like the quizzes. Basically, we'll give some feedback if you will just write some feedback whenever they answer the question. But I could see all the like the distribution of the answers, and I could go through each of the answers very quickly, and they were very engaged, because like there is a kind of competition there. So it's extra points. It's not like they will get points from the course, which I think would be very complicated, and people would be very anxious. But it's, as it is like a competition for extra marks, it's not as well They are not so stressed about it. So what is very interesting is that like, well, they all of them, of course, they want the token and they are competing for that. But when they see that they cannot really get the token, they are competing against their friends. So they have like little groups in the classroom and they are trying to be just like better than the friends, the colleagues. So in general, I think that's a very useful tool because, well, quickly we can go through many of the questions we have there. And I also use that for administration, uh, admin information so that they, they, I can refresh their memory about something that's important in the course. Another activity that I introduced there was the wiki. So we use a wiki. You cannot see there. I just anonymized because there are name of the students and I didn't have the permission to share. But anyway, this is just a list of articles they created and we share in the class. So I think that the nice thing about this activity is that all the articles they create in one semester, they are available in the following semester. So new students can benefit from the knowledge of the previous students. We are here trying to promote more authorship, right? And students as content creators rather than just like consumers of the content that I present. So we are co-authoring the course and I ask them to create any content that is related, not necessarily that I addressed in the course, but things that can be complementary. And we have been very successful in that. There are wiki pages that are very useful in many assignments, right? I don't even tell them because I say like, well, explore the wiki and they find like the articles that can actually help them a lot in some of the assignments that we have later. So it is a way that we continuously refine the course, like adding more content that could be relevant to students. They created, they find it interesting and also relevant. We keep them accurate as well because as any wiki, we depend on the community, and here we create this community so that they are always improving their articles that were written by other students. So basically here is like, how is this market? So we don't actually market, we use the wiki system for that, right? So we expect them to collaborate. If there is something wrong, someone will correct it or will flag it, and we can check as well and help. So all these things, tokens, wikis, quizzes, it is one of like our attempts to solve one of the big challenges in classrooms. And I would ask you like which challenge is that, but I actually said before, which is engagement, right? Like we want them to contribute to the course, to co-author the course. We have 400 students here. I know there are classrooms that are bigger than that. We have here at the university like larger than that, but this is quite big anyway. The idea is that we have so many students. Our students are top students in the world, I would say, and we can benefit from their knowledge as well, and then co-create the course, of course, with lots of guidance, but definitely they can contribute to their colleagues. So we have then these assignments, but we have one big assignment, that's this group assignment. And the group assignment is the creation of these medium-sized software. So they have to create a mobile app by then. So it's a software construction course. They have to create a medium-sized software by the end of the course. And we try to make it as real as it can be, right? So we give them a task and we simulate a real world scenario there. The teaching staff will be the student's client, and we will check and discuss like their progress with these checkpoints that I mentioned before. We have some surprise items, and the surprise items is basically creating new requirements or or changing some existing requirements that they have to cope with, like when they are doing their soft. So in the process of the software development, we expect that there will be some changes, and if they develop that properly, it will be easy to adapt to the new changes. If they don't do it properly, that will be a nightmare, right? And that will demand more like changes, and well, it'll be harder for them. So anyway, they will have to refactor or like improve their implementation so that they can introduce the new items. So the way we do that is like assessing them as a group and individually. It is very important that we do like the individual assessment there, but we first assess them as part of a group, right? So the group gets a mark, and then depending on their individual contributions, we mark them accordingly. So we have like 5 students per group. That means that if we have like 400, then we divide this by 5, and then we can have like 80 groups, which help us to provide better and high quality feedback, right? We have less than 400, so we are doing that for 80, which is way easier than 400. The other thing that's quite interesting is the way they present that at the end. So because we have so many groups, then it's very hard to have like every group presenting for 10-15 minutes. So we do a minute madness presentation, and that serves a few purposes. Basically, we do that so they can, let me see, I think yeah, you can see that. So if you are sleeping like me, because it's very late here, then this helps to wake up. So we start the presentations with that. The idea is we got this video from YouTube, and they have to create these mobile apps. As you can see here, there are some examples, and there are lots of bugs like during the process. So they probably saw lots of blue screens. So they start having to present these software that they developed in 1.5 minutes. So they have 1.5 minutes to say like the main things about the development, and it helped us because the students see what others did and can kind of compare like how they stand against their colleagues. So we have like these 3 timed slides that pass automatically, so they cannot touch anything. They just go when they have to go, and they say whatever they have to say, 30 seconds each slide, and go to the next. And obviously it's very fun and frantic. So the idea here is that they present. We have also an idea of all of the apps, because we have like group of tutors or teaching assistants marking them. So it's useful for us to have like an overview of all of them, and then do some moderation afterwards so that marks are consistent. So didn't talk much about exams, right? So these are basically formative assessment. Well, the group assignment is more summative, but when it comes to exams, then we have like a final exam that is in person. So that's what we say identity check, because they have to come. We check their IDs. They have invigilators and so on. So we ensure that we are assessing them individually, let's say. And the way we deal with that is, and then we are lucky because we are computer science and we are soft construction course. So we build a software and we can basically test automatically. So most of the questions are coding questions, and then they have to do some coding. We test that with test cases and mark very, very easily. It's very hard to design these exams, so it takes many hours, but it doesn't take like an hour to mark because we just run a script and it marks automatically. We do have one question that we say is an open-ended question, like a essay format, and that would take a bit longer for us to mark, but we want the students to be able to express themselves in other ways rather than coding only. So the final exam would be a little bit different, as I'm saying here. We have the midterm exam, and that is a quiz that we have variations, and the tricky part of that is that we have like all the quiz questions are select all that apply. And that is basically for integrity reasons, because it's quite hard to get like all that apply correctly or incorrectly. So it's very, very easy for us later to see whether there was a collusion, for example, and there'll be variations, and these variations are always like very, very, very minimal, and students don't realize that they answer the same thing but for their own question. So we can kind of get an idea of what is happening in terms of integrity. So talking about integrity then, like are they allowed to use generative AI tools in the course? Well, why not, right? Like they will be using that in the future. So we expect them to be using here, and we use that as an opportunity to teach them how to use that critically. So as an example, I show here like one student asking about something in the forum, and they say like, well, thanks to ChatGPT, right? Like, well, I was a bit sorry because actually ChatGPT was wrong. So it was a good opportunity for us to explain that, well, they didn't, the concept that they got from ChatGPT was wrong, and then we explain why it was wrong, right? So here's just, of course, like part of my answer. I have like a long answer, but it doesn't really matter. Here's just the point is that allowing them to use that in the formative assessment also allow us to understand how they are using it, and tell them to be careful and use that critically. So they learn early how to use it critically. This is the main point. They are not allowed in the final exam, as we need to ensure they know the basic concepts and how to do the things. So when these things, when generative AI came for us, when I was the sub-dean of academic integrity, and it was a very, very interesting experience, lots of work to do. And UNESCO, Orbicon, right, a network of UNESCO, asked me to write a piece related to like how that could change our teaching, research, etc. And then I wrote this piece that you can see there, and I would say that I'm happy actually to share that with you today and say that there was one mistake, at least, like I can only see one mistake in what I wrote. And basically I do believe that learners can achieve more than before. They can use these tools as like a more capable peer, and that would reduce their anxiety, and they could just work anytime, right? So for us as teachers, we would use these tools to promote more like the responsible use and ethical use of these tools, assist learners in developing critical thinking and other tools, especially in computer science, like soft skills that sometimes students lack. So that was my main idea there to share. And I did believe it was a unique time for education, and that is where my mistake was, at least the mistake I believe, that ask is all we need, right? Like if we are machines or human, there is no excuse for not learning. Ask is all we need. But that's the main point, because students and some of us sometimes don't know how to ask. So we would be very safe even if we allow them to use it. So for now, we are safe. It's ask is all we need, but like we need to know how to ask. That's the main point. We did some experiments at the time. We want to know whether students, if students use ChatGPT or any other generative AI tool, how they would perform in the exams that we were preparing. And some of the questions they would get like very high marks, like high distinctions or distinctions, but we cannot be blind by this because like this is considering that they know how to ask, they know how to create the prompts and interact with ChatGPT up to the point that they get their correct answer. So although we were a bit concerned that they could get HDs, then we realized that they would need like 3 times more to get like the answer correctly. So the exam would be over like by and they wouldn't get like the correct answer, right? So here it's just like, well, don't worry that much. That's like when you have like all the variables controlled, and they can do it during the exam. But anyway, so in some ways, of course, like it is a tool that can help them. They can make like they can be more efficient. But in terms of the exams, even if we allowed them to use it, um, that probably would not help many students. And those who could be helped by that, then probably they would do well anyway. So there are some studies, like some colleagues from UPenn, they did, and they were using that as to generate feedback for computer science students, and that was very positive, and students would see that as something that could help them during the process. So on the other side, right, instead of just talking about the students, how we use that as well. And then I was sharing with some colleagues when I was the subdean of academic integrity, saying like, well, we can also use ChatGPT to create things that we don't like, right? As the students don't like sometimes to do some of the tasks, they want to automate the task and use ChatGPT. I never seen any lecture or any of my colleagues that say like, I love to create rubrics. So one of the things that you could do is like also take advantage of the tool and create your own rubrics. And the creation of the prompt here, I didn't even create the prompt. So it's like I just said like create a prompt to create a rubric, and then ChatGPT creates that, and then I run, and then they create the rubrics, which I didn't use completely. I have my own rubric, but I was trying to understand like what other potential criteria I could add to my rubric, and I did, and got some insights from there. So definitely, it can be useful for us. So talking about today, so we talked about like some students using that, colleagues using for feedback, us to create like some of the tasks we have to do. If you had to guess, how would you guess how students use ChatGPT, right? So I'm just using here the mask because that's how the LLM would work, right? These models, then we have to predict the next word, and we have a mask there. So basically here, I did talk about that in my school in a retreat that we had like in the past, and everybody said like to cheat, right? That's students use ChatGPT to cheat, and actually would be learn. Right? They used to learn. That's the main thing. They use they cheat when they don't understand, right? So then yeah, they would try, but they use that like to learn, and there are many ways they can do that. So in a large classroom, I would say that, well, sometimes you can teach your students on how to use ChatGPT to help them to get to speed and understand topics or practice by themselves. And here is just a prompt, like so that you can create like multiple choice questions about the content of the course and then practice. And that could be an assignment, right? That could be an assignment where they do all of these, they practice, and they have to share one of the very difficult questions that were created there with students, for example, right? And students could um, um, select the best ones, and then you could probably choose one or two of them that could be in a exam later, right? So we actually help them to practice more and more and learn with the use of these tools. So based on these things and academic integrity, thinking about ChatGPT, think about these other assignments I showed you, the idea here is that we need to think about how we design the assignments and how these assignments can, like the way we design can support academic integrity, right? So it is not the use of the tool is not like any of these that would be a problem, but like the way we designed that. And I was trying to show you a few of these assignments that making them formative would basically discourage students to cheat, right? Because we don't even care if you get it correct. We just care if you try and you look for help. So anyway, this is a slide. There was a colleague here presenting about like the best practice principles for designing assessment, and here just like an example. So let's go to the second part of that. I know I'm quite like running out of time. It's usual I talk a lot. So well, let's see like my preferred assessments here. The first one is students. Students is not a typo. It's actually tube. It's like a YouTube. So I create this video platform where students create videos and then share these in this platform, right? So my motivation was like, how do I teach very big classrooms? Like, how do I address the needs of these students? How can I cater for all the differences, like for this diversity? Like there are lots of people who had like different backgrounds, educational backgrounds, and then it's quite hard like to address like the issues or their needs. So this platform helped me because they create videos and explain concepts in 2 to 5 minutes very quickly. So I call this like learning pills. They have to get one topic. They have to create basically the script and then the video and publish that. So the idea here is that they will search for information. They have to understand what is there, generate some information by creating examples, explaining the concepts, then create the script thinking about the audience that are or the students. This is peer reviewed, so I also make them watch other students' videos, and then they assess that, provide feedback. Feedback is often very positive, and after that we will publish. So this process ensures that the students are learning at least like those topics that they chose. They will actually know in depth, and they will have the opportunity to see other topics from their colleagues. We have this is the platform. I could quickly show you here. The videos are just amazing. Like there is like, I think.
Picture a scene. You're a high school programming student getting started on your first real-world application. You will build the greatest public transport timetable app ever and change the world.
So I will not like show, but I invite you to come to this website and check like the videos. They are just amazing. Some of them are very, very creative. The idea here is that, well, there are some, you can see like some pics, right? Like students are actually watching that, not because I tell them to watch, but because these are before some big deadlines. So they go there and watch by themselves. Nobody asks them to watch. When we ask them to watch, it's not in that platform. So we have like another, we have a place where they submit, they do the peer review, and then after that we publish the videos, right? So the pics are not related to the peer review moment, but because they actually go there and watch. So there are lots of positive sides here, active learning, etc. But I guess like the main point is the pluralization of the teaching. So I actually get like 400 students helping me to teach different concepts from different perspectives, and I've learned from them. And also, I've used some of the videos in my lectures because they come with like very, very good analogies, and I just like show them. And of course, this helps them to understand that these videos can help in their learning, right? So here is an opportunity for students in computer science, especially that they are very good at programming languages and coding and etc., but sometimes they are not very good at communicating what they know. And for those that come from different backgrounds, again, it's a very diverse classroom, they can communicate better in other ways than only coding. So we have very good and interesting videos from students. We have like thousands of videos right now, which also have help like new students. As the wiki, we keep all the videos and contributes to new students there. So the last one is like I will talk about the escape room, and here it's just like a riddle which I would like to do with you. If I tell you to think about what I'm saying, so imagine you are in a room where everyone wants to escape, right? So just imagine that room. Then imagine the clock ticks by slowly, just very, very slow. And then you are just creating plans that you can escape. So just a way out. You're just finding a way out, right? Then I asked you, where would you be, right? Like which place is that, right? So you might be guessing, but that's the classroom, right? That's the experience we have. Usually you are there, students are with the zipper, like so reminding you that it's time to 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 end that lecture. The way I solved that was, well, I didn't solve anything. No, I create an alternative for the classroom that it is an escape room. As you can see, I'm also in the escape room that you can see in the picture. So you can see my background here. Um, what is the escape room? So education escape rooms. So escape room is basically a team-based game where players are locked in a room. We don't lock students in the room, obviously, but players are locked in a room. They can leave at any time, but let's say that they are locked. They work collaboratively. Then we have a game master that will explain the rules, will tell you a story, like to motivate the theme of the escape room. And they have some clues, like to ensure gameplay and flow. The idea is that they will have like some puzzles and riddles that they have to solve within a specified amount of time, right? So um, this game will end when the players solve the puzzles or the time is up. So they will leave the room if they solve all the puzzles, so they escape. Otherwise, time's up. They didn't complete all the puzzles, but well, they can also leave. Right? This would be the escape room. It is a fun activity, and we use that here for learning. So, what is a classroom? Right? So the idea, the analogy here is to say that instead of a team-based, it is individual-based activity. Students are also locked in a room, right? Because they want to escape. That's why I was saying that before. They do not often work collaboratively, and instead of the game master, then we have the lecture explaining the rules. Like I explained lots of the rules and gave tokens in this talk, etc. So that was me explaining the rules. There is no storytelling, unfortunately, and sometimes they have no clue of what they are doing there. They do have to some puzzles and riddles because for them that's how it looks like. And the class ends when lectures or students are exhausted or time is up, right? So in some ways you can see there is some similarity, and the reason why they 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 don't have the same fun, right? So there is no storytelling, there is nobody like actually trying to help them, um, and they see things very, very challenging, like with puzzles and riddles that they don't actually understand. So this escape room, it's not only an experience; it becomes like the experience. They have had like they have an opportunity to experience what they were taught in the course. So the conceptual part they experience here in a different environment, like not only like with computers, labs, coding, but they have in practice to put in practice some of the concepts with physical objects that were only seen in the computers for them. This is just like an image like when well they were solving they were participating. That's not like fake pictures. They were actually doing the escape room. This was the first group who actually escaped in the escape room that we created a few years ago. I will skip like the 7 steps because we are running out of time. So, but there are a few steps that we have to consider here. So, how to define the goal, think about like the creation of the puzzles and riddles. You can use ChatGPT again to help you to that. In terms of decoration, of course, this looks like very fancy, but we use lots of e-waste, for example, to create, and it was quite cheap, the first version that we had. Now we have like it grew a lot, so of course we have more resources now. The number of participants, so you might say like, oh, this is like difficult to scale, and actually we run like for 400 students, and it worked well. It demands some logistics, but yeah. There are some safety procedures that we have to consider. So many students, so we have to consider like many things that could happen, and also create like alternatives for those students that don't want to participate for whatever reason, right? So they want to be like in a room that's dark, or they have claustrophobia or something like that, then provide some alternatives. Um, and test, right? Test is often very important because sometimes we think it's easy, or we think that's hard, and students just solve it very quickly, or they never, and that would be a problem because they get like they are not motivated anymore to continue. So we have to keep helping them. We help them with clues and so on, but yeah, so test it so that you ensure a good experience. Um, Instead of teaching assistants, and we had like actually volunteers to create the first escape room, and that was very good because they were really engaged in creating this amazing experience. So volunteers are also good um, to put some passion there, right? Like so, it was quite good to work with them. They were also my tutors, but in in this activity, they were helping as volunteers there. We create a software you can see in the back, probably, um, that helps us to create these puzzles. This is actually available, so I will show you quickly here. We have the escape room website, escaperoom.anu.edu.au, and here's the the escape room app where you can create your rooms, and there are some public rooms that you can just create here and use. So I will skip like the software, how it works. The main point about the escape room is not actually only the escape room, but the pre and post sessions. So pre-sessions to discuss like a little bit about what they will see, and also the safety measures. But the post session is very interesting to get their understanding and explain some of the concepts they saw that, but they did realize that they were applying concepts that they learned. So that is a very important part of the of this activity. Um, in the beginning, we tried to make something very fancy, and we learned that we don't need anything fancy. We don't need to overcomplicate things. We need actually to have like simple things that works well, and students will have fun, right? So that was like a lesson learned there. So here we run a couple of we run a survey asking them like how if the escape room is the most interesting assignment they had in the university, and 91%, over 91% said that it was. I'm still curious to know like which like other assignments are like more interesting. But it was interesting to see like quite good numbers like of for these questions. So as I can see, like they are over 90, most of them. The 67 is the interesting part. So here we asked that if they shared this activity with others, like family, work colleagues, partners, etc. And 6-7% of them said that they shared, talked about this experience. So I'm pretty sure they don't talk about the coding assignments, but it was very interesting to see that they were sharing this experience and talking about this experience, which is very relevant. So anyway, there were some skills and some emotions that they shared with us, like how they feel. And as you can see, they are all very, very positive. So to finalize the talk, some takeaways. So assessment design is key, right? Sometimes we blame a little bit the students for not doing this or that, but we could like always reflect on the design of the assessments to understand why something wrong was happening, right? So assessments can help engage students. So the escape program is something that they kind of prepare, like so they go to the concepts we taught in the course and to prepare to participate and be able to escape. So some ways it will help them engage more. Quality feedback makes them feel seen. So sometimes consider like other type of feedbacks, not only written feedback, but audio feedback, which is faster sometimes to produce, and also like they can see that as more positive or more personalized. Academic integrity, we need to be consistent in our marking, so students understand that the marking will be fair and that contributes to integrity. Set clear expectations about how you're gonna assess, how you're gonna check for integrity and so on. Define what's allowed and what is not. Usually when you have like these large classrooms, you also have like different understandings, like different backgrounds, like come like with also different understandings of academic integrity. So sometimes some places will be more flexible than others. So defining what is allowed and what's not, it's very important. And clarity in the instructions that we provide students. In these large classrooms, like a sense of belonging is very important, because as students might just not like they could see themselves as like, oh, nobody notes me here, so I can do this or that. Nobody will even note. So creating these activities and these videos makes them also being seen by their peers, and they make part of the assignment. So provide opportunities for everyone, creating different types of assessments, and offer support as you can. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if I have time for questions, but I'm happy to take if I have some.
That was very worthwhile, Bernardo. I don't see any questions in the Q&A forum, and I'm not sure whether everyone has access to it or not, but that's where we've opened it, so ideally everybody has access to it. I'm surprised by one takeaway that wasn't there. I thought as I listened, I was really so sure that you begin the design of assessment for students with this idea that assessment is about learning, way more than it's about ranking or ordering or separating that sort of who's got it from who hasn't got it sort of thing. So for me, as I listened to what you shared, it really seems, and I wanted just to say that's so powerful, you know, that you begin from this idea that assessment is first and foremost about learning. Is that fair to say?
No, it is. It is. Um, I wrote about that in the Times Higher Education. I should have written that. I will probably update with your comments for sure. But yes, it is. It is. I basically have one project right now in the university. So I proposed to the university to not have only marks and grades to define a student, right? Like I don't believe in a number or a HDD defining a student. So we have like a project where we have so different aspects that we consider to kind of give a better to better support students to learn as well, because like having 8 or 8.2, like how different they are and what do they need to get 8.3. So we have some projects that we just submit to the university so that we can recognize like different skills of the students. Hopefully I can share that soon.
And the other quick question, were the wikis, are they, what the students share, is it technical or is it, that's the same question that I have. Karen just posted, I'd like to hear more about the instructions you give to the students for building the wikis.
Yeah, so they are allowed to write anything related to the course, and that could be also clarifying instructions for some of the assignment, or it could be defining concepts in other ways that were not taught in the course, right? Or giving examples of the concept. So it's very, very open for them. And we see, so there is one page that I edit. It is extremely interesting because there was a student that came from non-computer science background, and then he listed lots of resources that could be useful to prepare for the course, right? So it's like all the resources that I used to prepare for this course, and he succeeded, right? So many students since then, like many students have been referring to that resource, and I also have referred that resource to some of the students that said like, oh, I'm very weak in Java, so what should I do? It's like, well, this page tells you like everything you should do. So yeah, it could be very technical or non-technical, as long as it contributes to the course.
Thank you.